Gaza's Minister of Health says the region is on the verge of an epidemic disaster. The minister says there is already an outbreak of respiratory diseases, and the region is facing an outbreak of polio. The health ministry says Israeli aggression is the cause. The Israeli military has destroyed almost 80% of the healthcare infrastructure in Gaza. I sat down with the Hoosier Palestinian activist who has been protesting Israel's war against Hamas. He has concerns about Indiana University's new policy regarding campus protests. Joining us now is Yaqub Sada. He is the co-founder and former president of the Middle Eastern Student Association at IU Indianapolis. He is now the community engagement coordinator for the Indiana Muslim Advocacy Network. And Yaqub, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in.
And what motivated you to get involved and to speak out in particular on the Palestinian-Israel conflict?
Definitely. So, I mean, I'm a Palestinian myself. I was born and raised here in America, but I never, missed out on the story of where my grandparents came from, where my parents came from. And so from a young age, I've always just been involved in my roots as a Palestinian. I've been advocating for the human rights of Palestinians since I was a younger child. And so it's been more of just a very personal cause to me. I'm from Palestine, and so until the liberation of Palestine, I really won't be resting anytime soon.
What has been your experience protesting here in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean, Indiana in general is kind of weird when it comes to political atmosphere as well as organizing. There's not much energy, really. There's not a bunch of experience when it comes to organizing, and so me getting into it, I was kind of learning from the people that have done it before me, and it was a lot to learn. There's definitely a lot of things that you kind of don't think about when you're going into it, but I've been learning a lot from people that came before me. People have been advocating for the cause, and it's been a very insightful experience.
Just recently, IU revised its protest policy, particularly in light of what happened in Dunn Meadow back in the spring. What is your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, IU has been censoring students throughout this entire experience with everything that's happening. Myself, as a previous student who was advocating on behalf of Palestinian human rights, I felt like there was always censorship that I was facing, or I was being silenced in any way, shape, or form. So these new policies kind of feel the same as that. It feels like just another way to kind of censor what students are doing and kind of violate their freedom of speech as well as their academic freedom.
Were you there for any of this? I know you said you were out of town when it first started, but did you experience or witness any of the response firsthand?
Yeah, so I was at Bloomington a few days after they started the encampment. I saw the police force there. It was a lot. There was obviously snipers on top of the IMU, which is something that a lot of people saw. It was weird energy. I've never seen that much, negative energy towards student protesters. People are protesting for something peaceful. I also, like I had mentioned, went to the East Coast and visited different encampments there, from Columbia to Harvard to MIT, CUNY, University of Michigan. So, I mean, in general, it was just very, very insightful seeing a movement like this, one that was replicated from an anti-war movement back in the 1960s. I was just glad that I got to be a part of that, experiencing it. As sad as it was to see the students getting arrested and the violent, suppression of freedom of speech, it was still something very insightful, and I was glad that I was there to witness it.
And you were in Washington, D.C. when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke before Congress. What was that like? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's surreal to even think that someone like that is being given a platform to speak to our Congress. I mean, the second I heard about it, I was like, I'm going to be there no matter what I have. I'm going to free up my schedule and go down, because it's truly an abomination that someone that has a warrant out for their arrest, someone that's been committing war crimes for 9 months now, has been giving this platform to speak to our congressional leaders, people that we've elected, our representatives. It just didn't feel right. So I definitely had to go down there to DC. The energy was unlike anything I experienced before. Like I'd mentioned, I've been to protests in DC since everything started in October, but this protest specifically just felt different because we were in the presence of a literal genocidal warmonger who was addressing our representatives.
What about, do you think he's actually trying to free the Israeli hostages? Of course, there's been people held captive by Hamas, as you know, for months now. Do you believe that he is trying to do that, or is there more to this?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that he's trying to go for a ceasefire and go for peace and getting the hostages back when he's doing everything against that. A few days ago, one of the Hamas leaders was assassinated, and he was one of the lead ceasefire negotiators. So it's like, if you're assassinating people who are trying to lead ceasefire efforts, it just doesn't seem like you're actually trying to get a ceasefire. And so I do not think Benjamin Netanyahu has that in mind. I think for him, it's just the abomination of Palestinians.
And he may have answered the next question I had is Are these, in your eyes, should be two separate issues? I mean, there's Hamas and there's the humanitarian crisis that's going on. Do you think that Israel could be doing more to allow humanitarian aid to come into Palestine, while at the same time trying to root out Hamas?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I can only speak for the humanitarian crisis part of it, which is what I'm advocating on behalf of. I think there's definitely more that Israel can be doing. There's just more, you can get more aid in. There's so many aid crossings that are closed right now. I mean, we're literally seeing UN humanitarian aid convoys being bombed, and we're seeing humanitarian aid workers being murdered. So it's definitely, there's more that Israel can be doing, not only to ensure the safety of people who are trying to provide aid, but just letting in medical necessities, food, water supplies, all that. They should be doing more for sure.
We may have, or we do have, a new Democratic presidential nominee, at least officially, here in a couple of weeks, Kamala Harris. What would you like? How do you want to see her address this issue?
I think the Democratic Party as a whole has a lot of work to do when it comes to, actually getting my vote as a Palestinian American, as someone who's been watching the wholesale slaughter of Palestinians live on my phone. I think they need to put more effort into getting my vote, and that includes, maybe Kamala could go and speak to Rashida Tlaib, one of the only Palestinian representatives in our country. Talk to her, see how can she help her community. I mean, she's the representative in a very key swing state, which is Michigan, and so I would just like to see Kamala and the Democratic Party actually try to come to my vote, appease for it, and get it. And so that's just one thing that I think they should work harder on.
In closing here, I know this is a very sensitive subject, because you do have a lot of Israelis who have been victimized by Hamas, which we know has also victimized Palestinians. And I think there's just a lot of tension between what should be done, you've seen it yourself, to resolve this crisis. How can both the Palestinians and Israelis coexist?
I think, it's a very loaded question, and myself as a student advocate, what I can continue doing is just centering, what's happening and talking about it, and continue to advocate for the human rights of Palestinians. At the end of the day, it's a human rights issue. And so when I'm advocating, I'm going out there on behalf of that.